this weekend, and she was looking kind of bad Sunday, struggling for oxygen, everything else. And then Darren gave me a call and said, hey, I'm sure everything's fine, but, hospice wants to take her down to the, respite center and just kind of make sure she gets her oxygen levels up and kind of gets out of the danger zone. And I was like, okay, just keep me posted. And I was sitting there, and Ronnie, was there with me. And we're sitting there, and it was kind of quiet. And I said, yeah, they're taking her over there. My thought is, because we've been facing her, close to death so many times. I mean, we all came up 6 months ago thinking she was going to pass, and she came back. And then she came back again, and I think she practically, either was announced dead or came back to dead a couple times through her life. I mean, she's just that person that, she used to say she was like a cat. She had 9 lives, but they screwed up and gave her 3 times that, And so I'm sitting there with Ronnie, who's also known her for 20 years, and all the humor and everything else. And he's like, yeah, I know it's going to happen at some point. He'd lost his dad just a couple of years ago to cancer. And he goes, but, man, she's the strongest, most, survivor I know. And I said, yeah, I know what you mean. We're going to sit there, and of course we know she was cremated, but this is the joke. We're sitting there and just kicking back, and I kind of felt guilty about this for a little bit, and then I thought, you know what, my mom would just laughed. And I told my brother, and he cracked up all the way up here. So again, forgive me, but I was sitting there with Ronnie, and I was like, yeah, we'd sit there, and, Reverend Tudor would be up here going, dearly beloved, and we'd be at the funeral site with the casket about to lower in the ground, and thank you all for gathering here. Hello? The family wants to thank you all for coming out. I'm feeling better. We love Jani. I'm in here. It's dark. I am feeling better. Can I come out now? It was a release. I laughed and laughed and laughed. And Ronnie and I just kept laughing. I think for like 20 minutes, my boss walked by and goes, what are you laughing about? And I said, my mom in the casket. Let me out! He just looked at me like I lost my mind. I think he was going to call HR. He left. I don't know. But my mom was like that. You could never just count her out. And Darren and I were talking, and he goes, I got to be honest. I never really thought that she would pass. Somehow, I knew it was possible, but somehow I just didn't really think so. And, I said, you know what, I knew it would happen sometime. But she'd come through so many times. She had such a strong heart and a strong spirit that Darren called me and told me she passed, and I was just like in shock. Because I think somewhere in my mind, I just thought, she wouldn't get probably all the way better from cancer, but she would just squeak by for like another 30 or 40 years. But she didn't, and I'm grateful for that because it really wasn't the quality of life she deserved. And she absolutely loves to be free and paint flowers and soar among the mountains. And probably I got memories back when we used to whitewater raft down the Guadalupe and all these other things. And I know she's just absolutely so happy to be able to do that and be free from pain. So I will end this, but I am going to sing I Can Only Imagine. And I think sometimes it's been sung a lot at funerals, and that kind of makes me sad. But if you think about it, it's actually a very joyous song about, coming home. And what will it be like? I can hardly imagine. I can only imagine. And I don't know how strong I am. Mom will probably support me. But if you know the song, I would really love it if you'd join me. Okay. can only imagine what it will be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine when our eyes will see, when your face is before me. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? To my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when that day comes and I find myself standing in the sun. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever, forever worship you. I can only imagine, yeah, I can only imagine. Oh, surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? To my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine, yeah, I can only imagine. Oh, surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? To my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine, yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine, yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine, yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine when all I will do is forever, forever worship you. I can only imagine. Thank you all.
Reach for Kleenex, we keep them here. Well, that wasn't very fair. I was just thinking, or hearing Jani's pride in her two boys. And I just, in my mind's eye, I just saw her. So let me just say that there are times when, as a minister, that